Hi, my name is James Peak, and I am a teaching artist with the Center for Arts Inspired Learning, and I am here with the Cleveland Public Library Summer Lit League Write to Read Wednesdays. And today's theme is, what if I was a reptile? What if I was a reptile? Well, I'd be cold-blooded, and I'd probably have scaly skin, and I might like to live in a warm, dry climate. Yeah. Anyhow, today I'm going to teach you how to fold an origami snake. All right, let's get started. Now, I'm going to teach you how to fold the snake out of a square piece of paper. But if you don't have square origami paper already at home, here's how you can make some. You can take any rectangular sized piece of paper, and what we're gonna do is take the short edge at the bottom, and I'm gonna fold it over to meet the long edge on the side. And so it's gonna look like this, and that bottom horizontal edge will line up with the vertical edge all the way down to the corner. So let's line that up. Hold before you fold, and then make a nice crease from the corner up to this side of the paper. And now what you can do is take a pair of scissors. We're going to very carefully cut along this edge of the triangle. So here we go. Okay, and now we have a square. If you wanted to, you could fold a white snake, kind of like that 80s metal band. And here I go again on my own. But another thing you could do is you could take some markers and decorate the paper before you fold it. So maybe I'm gonna make a kind of a simple pattern, just some really basic scribbling here. And you could also make a pattern on the back of the paper as well, because you will see both sides of the paper when you're done folding the model. But now I'm going to switch to using a sheet of origami paper. And the first step is we're going to take the bottom corner and fold it up to the top corner. I'm going to match everything up, hold before you fold, and then slide your hand down the middle to get things started, and then finish the crease by going all the way out to one side and then all the way out to the other. If you cut your paper from a rectangle, you actually already have this crease. Now we want to open the paper up, and let's rotate it 90 degrees so that the crease is running vertically. And we're gonna take this bottom corner from one end of this crease and fold it up to the top corner just like we did before, but with the other two corners now. Slide down the middle, slide all the way out to one side, back to the middle, then all the way out to the other side. And then we open up the paper once again. And now notice that we have two creases that cross one another that intersect in the very middle. Now we're going to take the bottom corner, we're going to bring it up to meet that intersection so that the tip of that flap just barely meets the intersection, just like this. You make one fold. And we want to repeat with the opposite corner, but before we do, let's rotate the paper. Let's spin it around so that we can fold from the bottom up and away from ourselves once again. Good. Now, let us unfold those two flaps. And now, I want you to notice, we have an intersection of two creases way up here. So now, let's take the bottom corner and bring it up to meet that intersection, kind of like we did before. And another thing to look out for is, you see this crease here? We want to align that with the very center crease that runs horizontally. And then we unfold the paper. We want to do the same thing with the opposite side. So once again, let's spin the paper around and find the farthest intersection, the one farthest away from the bottom corner, way up here. And we'll take this bottom point and we'll fold it up to meet that intersection, just like we did before. And take a look at that horizontal crease. See if you can line that up with the crease line underneath it. Always making nice sharp creases. And then we open up the paper. Now we're going to do something similar, but this time we're going to take the bottom corner to the closest intersection. So here we go, bottom corner up to the closest intersection. Unfold, and let's repeat with the opposite corner. And let's take that bottom point up to meet the closest intersection. And we unfold one more time. And now, I want you to notice, we have all of these parallel creases. And all of these creases that we've made here on the white side of the paper are valley creases, because they kind of go in to the paper, kind of like a valley does between two hills or two mountains. But now we're going to flip the paper over side to side so that we're looking at the back side of the paper now. Now all of those creases, those parallel creases, we can think of those as mountain creases because they kind of rise up off the table, kind of like mountains do. And that is the actual term that we use in origami to describe this type of crease. Okay, so now, first, notice the center crease going from one side corner to the other side corner. And let's go down one crease. Let's go to this one that's just below it that runs parallel. And what we're gonna do is we're going to kind of pinch this mountain fold. And we're going to pinch that fold and we're going to bring it up to meet the very center crease line, like so. Bring that up and kind of line it up. And it's kind of a wide crease, so we got to use two hands. Just do the best you can. And once we've got it up there, we can flatten it out to one side and flatten it out to the other. And what's going to start to emerge is this triangle pattern from the back side of the paper. All right, so now let's go down to the next mountain crease here, and we'll do the exact same thing. We'll pinch that mountain crease and kind of pull it up. So we pinch and we kind of pull it up to the center line once again, and then we get another set of triangles. Just kind of put it in place. Flatten it out, and we're actually creasing the paper underneath this flap every time we do this kind of step. Okay. Now I will note that you do get a little bump that happens from this edge of the paper underneath it. So let's just kind of ignore that, and let's go down to this very final crease and pinch the paper, bring it up to the middle, just like we did before. Finally, we'll take the bottom point and we'll bring it up to the center once again, finishing our neat little triangle pattern, which is perfect for a snake. It's almost like a diamondback rattlesnake. All right. So we've got one side done. Now we have to do the same exact thing with the other half of the paper. So let's spin the paper around. So we'll take this mountain crease here, we'll pinch it, and we'll kind of pull it up towards the middle. We want it to meet the bottom of those flaps that we just stacked up on the other side of the paper there. And we're gonna get a new kind of pattern emerging. Getting more of those white triangles here. Let's take the next mountain crease here, and let's pinch that paper and kind of pull it up to the center line. The paper isn't really going to want to sit flat, so you just have to kind of push it down with your hand each time. Get it out of the way. Yeah, see what's happening? Let's take the next one. this last crease down here. Let's take that to the middle, like so. And don't worry about everything being lined up perfectly. It's kind of difficult to do that anyway. Finally, let's take this bottom point and bring it up to meet the center line, almost barely kissing that other corner, just like this. And now we have this really interesting pattern. Looks really neat. All right, we're almost done. Okay, now I want to draw your attention to a couple of parts of the paper. Now, you don't have to draw on your paper, but what I want to do is I'm going to draw a line here and here. Again, you don't have to draw these lines, but I just want you to notice. Now, if you were to count 3 squares down, 1, 2, 3, it would be the top 2 sides of that square. Now, another thing I'm going to go ahead and do also, this is going to be the head of the model. So I'm going to take this tip, and I'm going to fold it back to this corner. So we're basically folding this little this square in half into a triangle. Okay? So now we know this is the side that will become the head of the snake eventually once we're done. Now, if you notice where I drew those 2 lines, what we want to do is create 2 valley creases that follow those lines. And so the way we do that, we're going to bring the paper over to one side, and then we'll bring the paper over to the other side. And note that you don't really have to crease all the way across. You can. It's not the end of the world if you do. But look here. I'm going to kind of use this edge, and I'm going to pull this over to the side. Okay? Now, I won't fold it just yet, just so you can kind of see the motion there. The other thing that happens is that this vertical edge kind of comes across this part of the square, like so. And watch this. I can fold this down like this, and I'm just going to fold, but only right up to the middle crease line. And if I unfold, you see I get a crease right about there. Now, this doesn't have to be exact, and in fact, you could put this crease anywhere you want along the snake, but I find that this is an easy reference. It's right here. So I've gone over to one side. It's hard to keep it all flat. Now I'm going to go to the other side. So here we go. Folding it down and over. Just trying to follow the edge of this little square shaped like a diamond. Okay, so I go over to the other side, and I'm not going to go crease all the way up. Like I said, you could if you wanted to, but you don't really need to. We only really need to go up to here. Now I'm going to unfold, and now, watch this. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of fold almost the entire snake in half, but only the body of the snake up to this point. So watch this. If I kind of fold this back and fold this down, I'm basically taking all of this paper and I'm kind of folding it in half. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this part of the paper to come up, and it will be a mountain crease down the middle to here. But then from here up to the front of the head, it will become a valley crease. So as I fold this and I engage the 2 creases that we just made before, look what we can do. We can take the whole model and we can kind of pinch it flat like this. And what's nice here is that, you know, based on the creases that we just made, we could make this stick straight up. But if you wanted to, you could even kind of bend this down a little bit if you wanted to. You can change the angle if you like. But for this lesson, I'll just kind of leave it standing straight up. Okay? So we got the front of the snake going up a little bit. Now, let us go back to what we were just looking at here. Okay? And I'm going to draw a couple more lines on this square, just like I did before. However, this time we're going to do something a little different. Now, we made 2 valley creases on these 2 edges. This time, instead of valley creases, we're gonna make 2 mountain creases along these 2 edges. So what I'm gonna do, instead of folding forward, I'm gonna fold backwards. And if I kind of fold that back, just like before, we only really need to go to the middle. So I'm gonna pinch, going back, following this edge right here. And I just give it a good pinch right to the middle. Okay, that's one pinch down. Let's do the other pinch along this edge right here. So I'm just gonna kind of bend the paper backwards and just find that edge and just pinch right up to the middle. There. All right. So now, what we're gonna do here is we're basically gonna fold the snake in half once again, like we just did before. If I kind of pinch like so, I can now take the head and kind of bend it down a little bit. I'm gonna engage those 2 creases that I just made. And there's the head of the snake. And just like before, as I said with the angle down here, you could kind of change the angle of the head if you want as well before you totally commit to it. So you could kind of, maybe we could angle it down just a tiny bit. But once we have it in place, we're just gonna give it a good pinch right along the back of the head. All right, now it's looking like a snake. Now we could do a couple more things here. One thing I like to do is I like to take these 2 corners. Now you could leave these corners. I do kind of like leaving those corners in place. It kind of reminds me of the head of a boa constrictor. But if you want to round out these corners a little bit, you can also do that so that the head is a little bit smaller. So here's how we do that. You just take one of those corners to start with, and we will fold it underneath. And you can kind of fold this wherever you want. You can just kind of decide on what kind of shape you want for the snake's head. So I'm going to take that front corner and I'm going to kind of pinch it and put it behind. Okay, so that's one side. Now, I could turn it over to do the other one, but it's actually easier if we just stay on this side and we take this corner, flap, and just kind of fold it over the edge that we just made, because we can use that as a guide so that it matches up and aligns with the front flap. So what we do, we fold that up to get the crease, and then we unfold it and lift that front flap up so we can now just kind of tuck that behind and close it up. There we go. And that, I think, makes a nice shape for the snake's head. I like to give the snake's body a little bit of curl. If you just kind of open it up, the snake kind of wants to open up a lot, kind of like a fan. So what will kind of help that is if we take something like a marker and we can kind of curl the snake's body around the marker. Maybe we'll kind of curve it to the right for this part. And then I'll take the marker and put it on the other side, and I'll kind of curve it to the other side, just kind of use my thumb and kind of push there, and that's going to help make it more snake-like. And then maybe what I'll do for the tail is I'll actually roll the tip of the tail around the marker a little ways. Now you'll see the paper doesn't really like to be rolled up too far because of all the layers, but you can just do the end there, and that works pretty well. And once you get that done, you can kind of push the snake in like this, and hopefully it'll sit up on the table all by itself when you're done. Thanks for folding with me today, and be sure to tune in next week for the final week of Summer Lit League. And before I go, I have one quick song I want to share with you called the Reptile Song. Hey, I'm a reptile, woo! So shimmy and shake, yeah, I'm a reptile, woo! My cousin's a snake, yeah, I'm a reptile, woo! I'll eat you for lunch. So back off, baby, we're a cold-blooded bunch. All right, thanks. See you later.